Lawrence Anini was born on August 1936 in the small town of Rome in the present-day Edo State, Nigeria. He was the youngest of 12 children born to his parents, who were farmers. Anini's early life was marked by poverty and hardship. His parents struggled to make ends meet, and family often went hungry. Despite the challenges they faced, Anini's parents were determined to give their children a good education. Anini attended the local primary school in Uromi, where he showed a keen interest in mathematics and science. However, due to financial constraints, Anini had to drop out of school in his early teens to work and support his family. After leaving the school, Anini moved to Benin City, where he worked as an apprentice to a mechanic. It was during this time that he began to develop a taste for crime. Anini started small, stealing food and clothing from his neighborhood. However, as he grew older, his crime became more serious. Anini's mother, who had always been his closest confidant, was devastated by his descent into crime. She had always dreamed of a better life for her son, and she was heartbroken to see him throwing away his future. Despite her best effort, however, Anini continued down the path of crime. As Anini's notoriety grew, so did his ego. He began to see himself as a folk hero, a Robin Hood figure who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. However, the reality was far from it. Anini's crime was brutal and ruthless, and he showed no mercy to his victims. Anini's first major operation was a robbery at a bank in Benin City. He and his gang made off with a large sum of money, and Anini's reputation as a skilled thief began to grow. Over the next few years, Anini carried out numerous robberies operations, including the robbery of a jewelry store in Lagos, where he and his gang made off with millions of naira worth of gold and diamonds. The hijacking of shipments of goods worth millions of naira. The robbery of a bank in Ibadan, where he and his gang killed several people and made off with a large sum of money. Anini exploit earned him the nickname the King of Robbers, and he became a legendary figure in Nigerian crime law. He was feared and respected by his peers, and his name was whispered in air by the general public. However, Anini's luck eventually ran out. In 1986, he was arrested by the police of Benin City after he tipped off from a member of his gang. Anini was put on trial and found guilty of multiple counts of robbery. He was sentenced to death by his firing squad. On March 29, 1987, Anini was led to the execution grounds in Benin City. As he stood before the firing squad, he proclaimed his innocence and claimed that he had been set up by his enemies. Despite his protest, Anini was executed by firing squad, bringing an end to his reign as Nigeria's king of robbers. Anini's execution was a major news event in Nigeria. It marked the end of an era in Nigerian crime. However, Anini's legacy lives on, and he remains a fascinating figure in Nigerian popular culture. In recent years, Anini's story has been the subject of several books, films, and documentaries. His life has been immortalized in Nigerian folklore, and he remains a symbol of the country's struggle with crime and corruption. Despite the many stories and legends that surround Anini's life, one thing is clear: he was a complex and a motivated individual, driven by a combination of factors, including poverty, ambition, and the desire for fame and notoriety. His story serves as a reminder of the danger of crime and the importance of seeking legitimate paths to success. Analysis of the story of Lawrence Anini. The story of Lawrence Anini, Nigeria's notorious king of robbers, is a complex and a motivated one. As a professional analyst, I will highlight the key points discussed in the story and provide insight on what Anini could have done to avoid his problems. Key points. Number 1. Poverty and hardship. Anini's early life was marked by poverty and hardship, which may have contributed to descent into crime. Number 2. Lack of education. Anini dropped out of school in his early teens. which limit his opportunity and may have led him to seek alternative means of survival. Number 3. Influence of negative peer pressure. Anini's associate with Monday Usumbo, a notorious thief, may have encouraged him to engage in criminal activities. Number 4. Greed and ambition. Anini's desire for wealth and fame drove him to commit increasingly serious crimes. Number 5. Lack of empathy. Anini showed no remorse for his victims, demonstrating a lack of empathy and a callous disregard for human life. What could Anini have done to avoid his problems? Pursue education. Anini could have continued his education, which may have provided him with better opportunities and more stable future. Sought positive role models. Anini could have surrounded himself with positive influence as mentors or role models who could have encouraged him to make better choices. Develop empathy. Anini could have learned to empathize with others, which may have helped him to understand the impact of his actions on his victim. Sought alternative means of survival. Anini could have explored alternative means of survival, such as entrepreneurship or vocational training, rather than resorting to crime. The last one, sought help. Anini could have sought help from authorities, social services, or counseling professionals and address his poverty, lack of education, and negative influences. The story of Lawrence Anini serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of poverty, lack of education, and negative. It highlights the importance of empathy, positive role models, and alternative means of survival. By analyzing Anini's story, we can gain valuable insight into the factors that contribute to the crime, to the criminal behavior, and the importance of seeking help and support when needed. Advice to young upcoming using Lawrence Anini's story as a case study of Lawrence Anini, Nigerian notorious king of robbers, serves as a cautionary tale for young upcoming takeaways and advice. Education is key. Anini's lack of education limited his opportunity and led him to seek alternative means to survive. Invest in education and skills to broaden your horizons. Surround yourself with positive influence. Anini's associate with negative peers led him down a path of crime. Surround yourself with positive role models, mentors, and friends who will encourage and support you. Make better choices. Anini's desire for wealth and fame led him to make poor choices. Think critically about your decisions and consider the long-term consequences. Develop empathy and compassion. Anini's lack of empathy for his victims led to devastating consequences. Cultivate empathy and compassion for others and consider the impact of your actions on those around you. Seek help and support. Anini's failure to seek help and support led him to downfall. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it, whether it's from family, friends, or professionals. Focus on legitimate means of survival. Anini's reliance on crime led to his dismiss. Focus on legitimate means of survival such as entrepreneurship, education, and vocational training. Be mindful of your associates. Anini's associate with Monday Usumbo, a notorious thief, led him to commit crime. Be mindful of the companies you keep and avoid association that may lead you astray. Set goals and work towards them. Anini's lack of direction and purpose led him to seek wealth and fame through crime. Set goals and work towards them, but ensure that your methods are legitimate and ethical. Learn from mistakes. Anini failures to learn from his mistakes led to his repeated involvement in crime. Learn from your mistakes and use them as opportunities for growth and improvement. Seek guidance and mentorship. Anini's lack of guidance and mentorship led him to make poor choices. Seek guidance and mentorship from positive role models and professionals who can help you navigate life's challenges. By heeding these lessons, young upcomings can avoid the pitfalls that led to Anini's downfall and instead build a bright and successful future. Thank you. We have come to the end of this story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Let others see this. Thank you very much.